So I think we're not going to wait for others now. And Dr. Preeti, I need your minute to give a brief introduction to the students. So then after then you can start.
Okay, so first I should give my introduction.
No. I'll be giving a brief introduction.
Oh, okay. Sorry. No problem. Sure.
Interact with the student, that's completely fine. This is just a brief introduction. Yeah.
Sure.
So, very good afternoon, everyone. We have with us Dr. Preeti Nigam Joshi. She is a founder, director, and CEO of FastSense Diagnostics, and working towards the mission of affordable and accessible healthcare for all. She was a scientist in NCL and recipient of big grant and other prestigious grant from Government of India. And she has more than 15 years of experience in the field of biosensors and doing impressive interdisciplinary work involving biochemistry, nanotechnology, and biomedical engineering to tackle problems in the field of early diagnosis of complex diseases like cancer, neonatal sepsis, and women-centric problems of PCOS and ovulation monitoring. She has a strong inclination to pursue problems which are important in Indian context and has been actively working on lab to market and marketing in India, make in India, approach toward product development and want to contribute to achieve the goal of affordable healthcare. She has published several high quality research articles in reputed national and international journals and have 2 patents on in her credit. And she is a recipient of many other awards like India Inspire Award and she was a part of she won the M2 D2 200K challenge USA and then other list of awards there. But I'm not going to take her time. And with this, on behalf of Srishti and Honeybee Network, I welcome you, Dr. Preeti. Thanks for this session. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you for giving me this platform basically to interact with the enthusiastic young minds. So, very good afternoon, everybody. So today, actually, we will discuss whatever the recent healthcare advancement that have changed the healthcare scenario completely. And they are the major, you can say, breakthrough technologies that are impacting our healthcare scenario globally. So as we all know, that we are basically living in the world that is where most of the population is still basically out of any healthcare net. So affordable and accessible healthcare is still a distant dream for them basically. So as a scientist, as entrepreneurs, it's a responsibility for all of us basically who has the privilege to work of our choice what we want to do. So we should basically bring scientific advancement to the people who really need that basically. And accessible healthcare is a need of an hour. And first of all, I would like to thank BIIS actually, because BIIS is doing a fantabulous job for providing funding, providing support to different ideas that have huge market potential as well as technologies that can fulfill the dream of science for society. Because the ultimate aim of whatever the scientific advancement we are looking forward is how they are reaching to the people, how they are basically benefiting the people who really require that to the bottom of the pyramid. So now, to begin with, actually, many times what happened, these two terms basically we are used interchangeably. One is invention and innovation. So it is clearly visible that what is the difference between invention and innovation? Invention is any new concept or product that derives from individual ideas from scientific research. Many times many discoveries are sudden, like you can see the wheel, invention of the wheel. But while innovation, as you see, the wheel is an invention. While when we are utilizing the wheel in a form of car, that is an innovation, means commercialization of the invention itself. So basically, there are two parts of innovation. Innovation is basically utilization of what are the invention are there into something useful, something has a commercialization potential. So basically, the two components that are consist of innovation is first of all invention, and the generation of an idea or invention and the conversion of that invention into some other useful application. As the car is a perfect example. Wheel has been invented a way back, but we have different cars that are using the same concept. So this is the basic difference that I would like to share, because these two terms very interchangeably we use. And today, basically, as a scientist and as an entrepreneur, I would like to basically show whatever the significant of healthcare advancement are there in perspective for industry, that what we need and which technologies are fulfilling the gap between accessible and affordable healthcare. So to begin with, this is the definition actually. What is the difference? What is the innovation? So this is the French novelist Marcel Proust that the greatest discovery comes out not from seeing new landscape, but in seeing the familiar with new eyes. Means it is not necessary that every time we will start something from very entirely new, from the scratch idea, that there is nothing available existing. But what we can do, we can basically something existing technologies, we can utilize these technologies for the benefit of a people for in a very commercially viable product. So this is the basically end goal. Like we know that Steve Jobs, Apple example. So the inventor of the technologies was was some other person. But what Steve Jobs could see the potential of whatever the invention is already there. And now the end goal we know. The Apple technologies, Apple iPhone, Apple computers, laptop, they are basically personalized computer is the concept of Steve Jobs that he bring first time. So this is the vision. So basically as an entrepreneur, one should have the vision that what we can do differently. It's not always that we should do entirely no, but how we can basically do something differently that can bring huge potential, huge change in the existing scenario. That Steve Jobs, Apple is the perfect example of that. So this is the introduction that how we can proceed. So if we talk about basically what is the need of the healthcare, that with a new wave of innovation in healthcare, like these days, IoT, AI, there are different technologies that are basically enabling healthcare from the existing scenario, old scenario. Different software industry, electronics industries, they have basically created a kind of niche. Lots of tremendous growth we have seen recently in different areas. And these areas are collectively basically providing better edge to the healthcare solutions as well. Like earlier, when we talk about the glucometer kind of thing, like the diagnostic, if we talk about the diagnosis thing, so initially glucometer wasn't there. We have to go every time for the path lab for the simple sugar testing. But it was very troublesome for the people who are living in the rural sector or villages. But now with the help of glucometer, anybody can do the testing anywhere. So that have made their life easy. Like if we talk about some pregnancy testing kits or ovulation monitoring kits, so these kits are providing huge benefit to the people for who are basically in the terms of family planning or infertility. So these are the basic advantage of new technologies that are enabling healthcare innovations. So first of all, the basic advantage of what would be the basic advantage of any innovation? So basically, it should change the way the healthcare organization for preventing, diagnosis, monitoring, and treatment. So whatever innovations, whatever technologies we are developing, the end goal should impact the diagnosis area. They should, for the monitoring of the patient, the treatment also, they should make it easy or more simpler. And ultimate goal is basically to provide an efficient and most connected healthcare. So now basically these are the pillars of healthcare innovation. So these are different innovation technologies like technology innovation. Technology means whatever the existing things we are currently having, how we can make it better. Business innovation, different business model for better market reach. If we talk about IT innovation, so of course we know that IoT, AI, ML, different innovations are there. Service innovation means how we are treating the patient, from shifting a patient to the hospital for their care and for their diagnosis. So many things are there. So if we talk about the technology aspects in healthcare, so we can see that now the diagnosis is an important aspect. Wearable technologies, wearable sensing technologies, different AR means virtual realities, robotic surgery is very common, regenerative medicine, different artificial organs, 3D printer. So these are now, we have all these technologies with us, and we can basically apply all these technologies for the healthcare sector, for the betterment of existing technologies. So this is a complete landscape. This is the complete, you can say, the pillar of the healthcare innovation system. From any discovery, and any discovery, whenever the discovery is there, how the technology is basically development is there, and how we are promoting. Because whenever new technology is there, promotion is equally requirement. There are like different areas I have mentioned, like improved drug delivery system. Drug delivery systems, you might be knowing that whenever we are giving the drug, like chemotherapy is a very common procedure. So whenever a chemotherapy drug is given to the patients, what happens? It has different side effects because along with the disease cell, chemotherapy drug impact the healthy cells as well. So what we'll have to do, we have to develop simple drug delivery systems where the drug can be incorporated in different micelles, different vehicles that have some targeted molecules, means they will only bind to the particular disease cell only, and they will not impact to the healthy cells. So what we will do, we will get better efficacy of the chemotherapy drug. It will without any harm to the patient. Like COVID thing. In COVID scenario, we all are hearing most of the time vaccines and new diagnostic methods and everything. So vaccines and other biologicals are another area that require huge attention. Improve diagnostics. So even Corona is basically it's a kind of learning era for us, because before Corona, lots of, you can say, diagnostic area is a very neglected field. Nobody bothered that even nobody knows that what is a biosensor. But now we have come up with different improved diagnostic kits very soon for the COVID detection, because it was a huge demand to serve a huge population in India. So now new diagnostic methods have been there. New medical devices, like medical devices are basically all the devices, like from a surgical tool to a sophisticated, you can say, MRI, CT scan devices. So medical devices are now making more portable devices are there. Like if we talk about a surface sanitization system, UV based or cold plasma based. So these are the medical devices. So in COVID scenario, we have seen lots of, you can say, healthcare innovations recently. So market access, so whatever the basically three pillars of market discovery. First of all, the market access, how the technology can provide to the market. What are the capabilities, means to in scaling up the capabilities, feasibility of the technology that we are working on. Because what happens as an entrepreneur or as a scientist, when we think about, so we become very, you can say, touchy with our, we get very emotionally attached sometimes the idea we are working on. But many times we forget that the idea we are working on, it may be very fancy, but it may not have the commercial viability. The feasibility aspects is not there. So when we are working on certain ideas, we should think about what is the idea, what is its market potential, and how the basically technology can be developed. What is the feasibility aspects? Because every country has their own, you can say, set of problems, own set of infrastructure. So that is another aspect of technology development. Decision support requires when we require different approvals, because when we are developing a product, so different regulatory approvals are also required for that. And technology and knowledge transfer means when we are technology, we are transferring the idea, we are technology, the know-how, that how the work is going to do. We are transferring the technology to some established player who can take it forward. So all these are the basically health innovation system that is required for all of us, because all of us are working for developing new technologies. So this is the basic pillars of the health innovation system. Now I would like to share one video. It's a very nice video where 10 recent innovative ideas they have covered. So now I'm going to show the video. I hope you will be, just let me know if the voice is clear.
Happy New Year, everyone! Let's celebrate the new decade and be a little.
What happened?
Happy New Year, everyone! Let's celebrate the new decade and be a little hopeful about digital health by looking at the top 10 medical technologies of the future. Here we go.
Can you hear the video voice?
Yes, sir.
If you're a subscriber of the channel, you might have heard about most of the following technologies by now. You know that we describe digital health developments, their impact on your health, medicine and healthcare in general, so you know all that. But now, for something completely different. Today, we are going to use a scoring system to rank their place in the future of digital health. Because, as we all know, the absolute best way to measure the potential of future medical technologies is subjective numerical scores. So, I'm going to assign a score on a scale from 1 to 10 in 3 categories. How close is the given technology from becoming real? The potential impact it can have on healthcare, and accessibility to the masses. May the best technology win. Health sensors and telehealth. In the future, as we look back on today's healthcare, it will look completely absurd that when something goes wrong with our health, we have to get into our car and drive to the nearest facility where we can receive care. Health sensors and telemedicine will change all of that and make patients the point of care. Even today, wearables are mainstream, and the Apple Watch or the ECG device Cardia have such great health functions that have reportedly saved multiple lives by alerting users in time of a serious cardiovascular condition. But in the future, we will measure not just heart rate and step count, but pretty much everything we can, from blood pressure to respiration patterns and ECG and so on, with a digital tattoo. And with the rise of portable diagnostic devices such as mobile ultrasound scanners or medical tricoders such as this one here, medical professionals will be able to obtain most of the information that's needed for an educated diagnosis at the patient's bedside. So, how close is the given technology from becoming real? Well, many of these have already been available, so I would give it a 9 out of 10. The potential impact it can have on healthcare. Can you imagine patients living their lives without measuring data that shape their treatment? Can you imagine how much information and data it will provide physicians with so they can make better decisions with the patients? So 8 out of 10. And accessibility to the masses, it's a harder issue as many of these devices are a bit expensive or simply are not on the market yet, so 7 out of 10. The Medical Futurist Index then is 24. Mixed reality. Mixed reality is going to be a key component of the future of healthcare. Unlike virtual reality that shuts out the outside world, and unlike augmented reality that only projects digital information on the real world, mixed reality projects content that interacts with the real world environment. Now I want you to imagine a surgeon preparing for a complicated brain surgery in the future. The hospital received the MR images and a mixed reality device renders it into a 3-dimensional holographic image. The doctor can take a look at the problematic area, analyze it layer by layer, and plan their entire intervention, while they could literally zoom in and out of the patient before making the first incision. Imagine medical students study anatomy in groups while dissecting a holographic body without physical limitations or the formaldehyde smell. So there are examples for using mixed reality even today, but you won't see these devices going mainstream soon. I would give it a 6 out of 10. The potential impact can be significant, but it will not be a life changer. 5 out of 10. These devices are expensive, and while costs go down, it remains steadily unreachable for the masses. 5 out of 10. The Medical Futurist Index is 17. Surgical and medical robotics. To stay with that brain surgeon for a second, also imagine that they have a surgical robot at his disposal. The doctor can practice and find the absolute best way to operate on the patient and let the robot support their procedure. Then, when reaching absolute precision and no shaking hands, some surgical robots could follow pre-programmed protocols and become semi or even fully autonomous in performing surgery. That's how robotics can become a perfect tool in the hands of physicians. But robots can also disrupt healthcare in more ways. Machines don't need sleep or food, don't have prejudices, and definitely won't grunt about why they need to complete the same monotonous task for the 1,000th time. For example, disinfecting a hospital room in minutes, bringing medicine up to the 10th floor, or provide elderly patients with companionship. Thousands of surgical robots work in hospitals today, but there is still a long road ahead, so 6 out of 10. The impact of automation regarding physical and repetitive tasks could be huge on the medical workforce. 8 out of 10. But the vast majority of these robots are really expensive and unreachable in certain areas. I would give it 4 out of 10. The Medical Futurist Index is 18. Brain-computer interfaces. Research has geared up lately in the area of brain-computer interfaces too. These brain implants today are where laser eye surgery was decades ago, but the field will advance significantly in the coming years. There are numerous successful tests where brain implant therapies for people paralyzed by spinal cord injury or other neurological damage could restore some movement and function. But we can go even further than that. Imagine a retinal chip giving you perfect eyesight, a cochlear implant granting you perfect hearing, or a memory chip bestowing you with almost limitless memory. It's like something out of a science fiction novel. While you see heartwarming examples in the news about paralyzed people being able to control their prosthetics or exoskeletons, it's still an image from the far future. Therefore, I give it 3 out of 10. Regarding the impact on healthcare, it's hard to determine, but regarding the impact this technology can have on individuals with such health issues, it will be a life changer, so 7 out of 10. And knowing that one robot prosthetic costs about $150,000, I would say it's not really available to the masses, 3 out of 10. The Medical Futurist Index is 13. Nanotechnology. Scallop-shaped microparticles have already been shown to swim in the eye and perform procedures. But what if nanoparticles and nanodevices could operate as precise drug delivery systems? Just imagine a nanometer-sized tool injected into your body that releases a medication but doesn't get attacked by your immune system. How about injecting chemotherapy into cancer cells while keeping healthy cells untouched? Microscopic robots inside you could send warnings to your smartphone that a disease is about to develop in your body so you can try to prevent it. In that scenario, even the word symptom would be completely eradicated from our medical dictionaries. Nanotech is amazing, but still pure science fiction. 2 out of 10. For the impact it can have on people's lives and prevention, I would say 7 out of 10. And for availability to the masses, 2 out of 10. The Medical Futurist Index is 11. 5G. The upcoming 5G upgrade of our telecommunications networks will lay down the foundation for the digital health revolution. Right now, smart sensors and the Internet of Things tools are putting our networks under increasing strain. But 5G will bring more speed and capacity to them, which will open the door to a flood of innovative technologies. In the future, wearables and accurate pocket-sized connected devices will constantly monitor the state of the patients. And high-speed 5G networks will allow smart algorithms and artificial intelligence to use the vast amounts of data gained from these wearables to do real-time analysis on them and notify a patient's physician in case anything is about to go wrong with them. But what if there is a bigger problem that needs surgery? 5G's fast network can handle remote surgeries as the turnaround time for information between 2 points of the network will fall to around 1 millisecond. Basically, a patient with a certain condition can have a specialist halfway across the world do surgery on them. 5G is coming this year as many operators are deploying their new networks, so it's 8 out of 10. The impact will only be significant if healthcare providers start adapting it, 6 out of 10. As it will become available this year, many will get access to it in the most developed regions only. 6 out of 10 for accessibility. The Medical Futurist Index is 20. Direct-to-consumer genetic testing. If you follow this channel, you know that I'm a big advocate for genetic testing and full genome sequencing in particular. It's an oftentimes startling but absolutely crucial part of a responsible and health-conscious lifestyle. Full genome sequencing is basically a method of deciphering your entire DNA and looking at it through the lenses of our collective knowledge of how our genome affects health. It can be a gold mine of information. It can show you your risks for certain diseases that you would otherwise not know of, and so you can create a preventive plan around it with your physician to shape your lifestyle in a way to keep you healthy in the long run. For example, if your genome report shows that you have a risk of diabetes, you can change your diet and exercise more to try to prevent it from happening. In the future, it will be hard to imagine that there was a time when our diet and our lifestyle were arbitrary and not based on science. Many tests are already available, but we are still waiting for comprehensive tests. So for that, it's 8 out of 10. The impact of genomics on every aspect of healthcare, from medication sensitivity to nutrition, will be huge. It's 9 out of 10. That huge. And then genome sequencing is still expensive, even though millions of people have used simpler genetic testing services, so it's a hard question, but for accessibility, I will give it a 7 out of 10. The medical futurist index is 24.
So now I'm stopping the video here. So the basic purpose of showing this video was, it's a very basically informative video. And we can see that there are different technologies that are quite fascinating, quite promising. But the problem with the technologies is sometimes they're not accessible. The cost of the treatment is very high. And sometimes they have not basically relevant because every country has their own problems. So many technologies like different AI ML based systems, robotics, that may be relevant for different countries who have, you can say, less population. But for Indian scenario, if we talk about, so implementation of AI ML or robotics in every aspect is not as good as it is required. So healthcare, of course, is a sector where different AI ML technologies and robotics may be relevant. So it's a need basically, it's the need of every country. So basically we should think about what are the technologies would be required for our country, because our country has different problems. So as very well said in the video, there are three pillars for new technologies. How close it is to reality means how quickly it can reach to the people. What is the impact? Because many technologies may be there, but they may not be as impactful as it is required. And accessibility and affordability is basically the key of success of most of the technologies, because it can serve the purpose of reaching the people at the cost that can be afforded by the common man. We are done. The technology would be hugely successful. Here I am showing just two examples where there are different patches, because now I am coming to the different sensor and diagnosis. So this example is showing where octopus suckers are the basically guiding force for the scientists to develop different patches based on graphene oxide and PDMS based polydimethylsiloxane that can be used for the drug delivery system as well as for the monitoring of different parameters. It's a kind of wearable sensor. So now diagnosis and disease management. Diagnosis actually is a very important area for any healthcare system, because prevention is always better than cure. And with the early diagnosis of all the disease can provide us information prior where treatment is not possible. So suppose if we talk about cancer, if we have some early portable kind of cancer detection system, we can basically identify the disease, you can say 5 years or 10 years earlier, because there are different biomarkers in this blood. They can provide you the information that a person can have the cancer or the person already have the cancer at an early stage. Because we are also, as a company, we are also working on different early detection kits for cancer or for different cancer like pancreatic, liver, and different other deep tissue cancer. So we know that how important it is to diagnose cancer early, because I myself lost my mom due to pancreatic cancer, because many cancer are not symptomatic. So if we can detect cancer early, we can provide some more 5-year lives to the patient, because more cancer is, you can say cancer, many cancers are 100% curable if we can detect at the localized only before they become metastasized. Metastasization means they are spread to other organs as well. So now moving ahead, so as you know, the diagnosis have different kind of, you can say, physical diagnosis as well as the serological tests like blood-based diagnosis. There are sometimes urinary biomarkers are there, sometimes sweat is a biomarker. So there are different biomarkers that we are targeting for diagnosis of any disease, and it can be used for the treatment as well and for the prevention as well, like genetic diagnostics door to door. So if we can earlier know that we have chances to have the diabetes, we can of course start taking the precautions that are required. So as this is showing the detect early, treat better, and save lives. So if we talk about Indian scenario, so the problem is late diagnosis, because we do not have the healthcare awareness as well as proper healthcare infrastructure, because many times path labs are not there. Basically trained manpower is also not there, and most of the time cost is very high. And our population, most of the population, you can say, living in villages, remote areas. So for them to spend high on healthcare is not possible. So whatever the solution should be there, we should develop different kind of point of care tools so that we can reach to the people and they can be screened. Whatever system we are developing, it should be portable, easy to operate. Other thing, the test could be basically given in a rapid and accurate way, and the affordability and minimally invasive, because many times to collect blood from, if we talk about neonatal sepsis, India is a neonatal sepsis capital. We have 17,000 cases of neonatal sepsis by birth per 1 lakh live births. So this is the ratio. So we should have different, and to collect the blood from the, you can say, neonates, from the small babies, it's a very troublesome job. So the system should be basically minimally invasive. It should be affordable. Means any person from any, you can say even from the bottom of a pyramid, can able to basically use the testing. So we are also working on the system, and we have developed a smartphone-based device for the liver cancer testing. So this is the device. So you can see that just a drop of blood, you will get the data for the liver cancer biomarkers. It is just like glucometer. The only thing is not a standalone. It's a kind of smartphone-based interface. The basic advantage is smartphone can be taken anywhere. The device is also connected to a smartphone. We can take it to any place, river, villages, remote areas, wherever. It's a battery operated thing. So no electricity is also required. Wastage of sample is not that just a drop of blood would be required. It's sufficient also because in 20-30 minutes we will get the data. And the basic advantage is we can basically go for the testing. We can share the data to the doctors. So if we talk about smart wearable sensors, so now we know that different smart wearable sensors are already there to step monitoring and everything. And with the advancement of the technology, different wearable devices has also come with the that have the Bluetooth enabled. Sometimes the display also is there, and smart watches are there and they're battery operated. So electricity requirement is not there. So as you know that different, you can say, patches are there that can provide as a drug delivery systems as well as to basically smart textile, foot and arm wear. So they can be used for the drug delivery system as well as to measure the various parameters from the sweat, like cortisol monitoring. Cortisol monitoring is another aspect that can be done with the wearable sensor. Hand-worn smart watches are there. For step monitoring is there. ECG monitoring. So these are the different wearable basically devices are there that we are currently using. Portable, you can say, ECG devices are there for the monitoring. So basically, whatever the challenges we are facing. So first of all, we are digitally measuring human behavior and activity. There may be other basically challenges, so that there is a problem in basically wide applicability, user privacy and security. So many times lots of, you can say, data is generated. So hacking is also very common. So data security is not there. Another thing is reliability of the equipment, means how the equipment is measuring the concentration. Sometimes equipments are not well calibrated. So whatever the data they are generating, how authenticated it is also yet to be established, because regulatory pathways and other things should be there to control the strict quality check that whatever the device we are using, how much you can say accurate it is. Whatever, suppose we are measuring the ECG. If we are measuring ECG on routine basis, and sometimes if there is some problem with the ECG device itself and we are getting false reading, it can basically create a huge havoc for the person. So these are the different challenges with the device, but still these wearable sensors and diagnosis is a basically very good field, very potential field, and has a huge impact in lives of all the people in all, basically all walks of society. And COVID, you can say, COVID is a, you can say, COVID last year, COVID scenario that has teaches lots of lessons. Because earlier that biosensor or diagnosis is a kind of neglected field, but now we find out that it is the field that required utmost, you can say, attention. Because when the COVID started, we were fall short of different tests. And if you remember, that time basically we were have to import different faulty kits from China. So that was the problem for us. But now we are basically self-reliant. We have developed different kind of RT-PCR, different kind of small bio-based assays. And as a company, we are also developing different, we have also 2 modules for the COVID detection. That is a new technology that is LAMP-based, that is loop-mediated isothermal amplification. That is a PAR technology. It's a small bio-based test, and we can detect COVID detection. We can detect COVID in a very less time as well as with very less effort, because we don't require the troublesome, basically labor intensive steps for the RT-PCR. So this is the technology benefit that COVID has provided us with the different, you can say, we are now self-reliant and we can provide different technologies to abroad as well. So moving ahead, 3D printing technology. 3D printing technology as well as organ on chip. They are, again, you can say, a very fascinating words. And we are day-to-day life, we are always hearing like different, you can say, organ on chip based, yeah, you can say 3D printed heart, 3D printed lungs. So we are hearing these technologies, and 3D printed, the figure is showing that 3D printing different drugs for the kids, like dinosaur shapes and different toy shapes. Kids drugs are there that we can do by 3D printing. So now the technology advancement is there in 3D printing. This is a few examples, like different prosthetics has been made, like suppose the different, you can say, 3D printed breast implants are there, 3D printed skull, 3D printed nose from different biopolymers. This is the 3D printed vascular bones, nerves are there. So these are different advancement that 3D printing technologies we are seeing day to day our life and have wide applicability as well. For the medical students also, we can show them different 3D printed organs and all for their study purpose, because a near kind of image can be generated with 3D printing. So this is the basic companies who are working on. One is the orthodontics, orthopedics, and bioprinting. So these are different companies we can see. This is the stage that where they are. So there are different companies like Organovo is an emerging company currently. In India, actually, there are very less companies who are currently in market. We have to rely on different foreign companies for these kind of advanced technologies in 3D printing. So basically, this is basically what are the adoption barriers for 3D printing technology, because every technology has their pros and cons. They have certain benefits and they have certain shortcomings also. Like if we talk about the 3D printing, so first of all, quality is the concern, because many times implant is the in vivo implant, means we have to basically in body implants. So if the implants, whatever the material we are using, it's not biocompatible, it is creating certain different complications. So quality of the basically 3D printing organ is utmost important. Other thing is healthcare providers and patients, means first of all, the confidence should be there that whatever the material is going to be implanted in the body, it has no biocompatibility issue, it has basically no anaphylactic response would be generated, and the patient would be secure, because whatever the implants we are talking about, either heart, lung, pancreas, so they should be in the body for a longer time. So the quality of the, you can say, biomaterial is utmost important. Many times the cost is very high. Means in abroad, foreign countries, their paying capacities are much higher than Indian. So of course, there may be many technologies may be more relevant for them. But for if we talk about Indian scenario, so of course, cost is a huge barrier for us to adapt the new technologies. And of course, materials limitation means whatever the materials we should use, where currently we are different, that PET material is there, ABS is there. So these are the few material that people are using for the 3D printing. First structure actually was in 1980s when we got the 3D printing. And now organ on chip, basically, if we talk about organ on chip actually, so organ on chip is basically 3D microfluidic cell culture chip. So material whatever using is the utmost important for developing, for fabricating a 3D printed organ. BIIS-8 Institute in Harvard, actually, they are doing a basically very fantastic job in developing different multiple organs for 3D printed organs for the implants. Now moving ahead, this is the different ecosystem challenges, because 3D printing is a very potential technology, because if we can reduce the cost, so it can have huge implementations, because organs, well, many times we know that organ donors are not there. So if such technologies would be there, it will basically solve huge purpose. But what are the barriers that we are basically facing right now? First of all, we may not have all the technologies based on materials and printing that are required for the efficient 3D printing of the nerves, organs, and whatever the precision is required for printing the organ. Material may not be as biocompatible as it is needed. They may have certain side effects, and it's a niche area, new area. So of course, different technology advancement is required. Another time, sometimes we are building different prototype machines. So we do not have the requisite technologies is not there. Different software advancement is not there. We are still working on them, because currently IoTs and AI/ML, these technologies are emerging very fast. So the time is very near when we have very easily available 3D printing organs. Other aspect is sometimes the confidence, because whenever any new technology is there, to create the confidence in the end user is also very important. So the acceptance by stakeholders, motivation for adoption is also a huge, you can say, entry barrier for these particular kind of aspects. So most of the 3D printing, you can see, ecosystem is still in a nascent stage, and all the things are still in a research stage only. Other thing is multi-material versus mesostructure, means cheaply implement complexity in materials, means the cost. Basically, we are talking about the cost. And reliability and durability means the material we are using, it shouldn't degrade in the body itself. Because whenever we are implanting, suppose we are implanting heart into the patient, and somehow the material got degraded. So what would be it will result into the death of the patient. So all this, there are huge, you can say, different barriers that has to be overcome before before the useful implementation of 3D printing technology. Now moving ahead, telemedicine, if we talk about. So telemedicine is also a very important area. In this COVID scenario, you can say that was basically that's a life saving for many, because like different you can say different startups like Practo and all, they are connecting doctors with patient directly. So what we can do with the telemedicine, the part of healthcare diagnosis, treatment, and follow-up. And telemedicine is a growing part of technology, because telemedicine currently, it is important. So as describing here, 70%, because in Indian scenario, telemedicine can be a boon, not for all diseases, but at least for the routine, for the treatment and routine basically decision making. Like 70% of Indian population live in rural areas, and doctors in general don't want to go in rural areas for the treatment. So at least if telemedicine, basically some advanced telemedicine tools would be there, so doctor can basically diagnose the patient, can provide the basic medicine. Not everything can be done with telemedicine, that is understood. Most of the time, secondary and tertiary care facilities, means big hospitals, testing, everything are in towns. Villages, we are lacking so much that there is no path labs, there are no efficient doctors, nothing. So many times people don't know that why they are suffering, and they died. So low penetration of healthcare services, lack of investment in rural areas, these are the basically problematic areas that we are facing in India. Problem is retaining doctors in rural areas, of course, because there is no facilities, nothing. So why a good, you can say, doctor would stay in rural areas for more of the time. They will have better opportunities, better learning, etc. in cities, so they will move ultimately to the cities. So it's in that scenario, telemedicine can be a huge advantage for the patients in the villages. But of course, there are certain side effects. So what are the risk factors? So first of all, in telemedicine, whatever the doctor will describe, basically the virtual person level, a virtual level, means everything, either doctor is seeing us, doctor is monitoring our ECG, everything is virtual. So there may be some problem with the machine itself. Many times physical care is also required, because doctor can't predict everything based on normal by visualizing the patient in the virtual domain. Or especially sometimes standard, whatever the telemedicine tools we are using, the instrument that we are using for the monitoring of different blood parameters, different ECGs and different machines, how standard they are, how calibrated they are. So that is some tools that are required, that is some areas that is required for the application of these things before the practical application. Now we come to the last aspect of this, artificial intelligence and machine learning. So as we know that AI/ML is also a very interchangeably used term, but the basic difference, what is the basic difference basically? AI is a concept to create intelligence machine that can simulate human thinking capability and behavior. Whereas if we talk about machine learning, so machine learning is an application or subset, it's a subset of AI that allows machine to learn from data that we are feeding without being programmed explicitly. So for the AI/ML and applications, basically lots of data is required. And of course, AI has a huge healthcare benefits, because whatever the images are there, if AI/ML enabled, you can say image processing can provide the better data to the doctors, then provide different electronic health record can be maintained, different natural language processing, computer vision. So these are different applications that is required. So now we have various application of AI are there. We can see that patient facing different chatbots are there who can solve different problems. Like suppose if we talk about chatbots for regarding personalized chatbot that can provide you different answer for your queries, then personalized genetics. So all these areas, mental health, skin research are different going on, drug discovery, genetic research, doctors, medical records, all these things. AI is a huge, you can say, application where telehealth, telemedicine, lifestyle management, disease management. So AI/ML has huge benefits in these particular areas. But now what are the, you can say, shortcomings of AI/ML and what is the limitation? So basically, as a concept wise, AI/ML is not a new concept, but it has certain limitation. So first of all, how we can translate the vast potential of art into everyday life, because cost is also important aspect. going to know the most possible about is healthcare. We should get a cheaper picture of the obstacle, clearer picture of the obstacles. Means we should know that what is the limitation. And if we talk about Indian scenario, so we have a huge population. So if we talk about AI/ML everywhere, so it is not at all a feasible option. We should first try to align human intelligence in our country, then depending on AI for everything. Healthcare domain is the only domain where AI/ML has some utility in Indian scenario. The core problem of artificial intelligence, what are the core problems? First of all, knowledge, because there are still manpower resources are not there who are well qualified in doing AI/ML. Perception, learning, planning, and ability to manipulate and move object means whatever the data is required, because all these things are data driven. So the more we have the data, the more we can have the clear picture with the AI/ML facilities we are using. So this is the basic advantage of different healthcare innovation, at what stage they are. With this, I have basically concluded that these are the major, you can say, impactful scenarios that we are working on. With these technologies of diagnosis, telemedicine, 3D printing, and AI/ML application in healthcare. Now, as we are as I am an entrepreneur, I am a scientist also. So now I'm looking forward that how we can basically take the whatever the concept we are talking about. Because my purpose of today's talk to provide some different thoughts that what are the technologies which has potential, where we can work on. So innovation and entrepreneurship are related term basically. So basically, this slide is more abstract. So basically, when an invention is there and we want to take it to the market, so you can say entrepreneurship is the missing link, because entrepreneurs are required who can see the potential, who can envision the potential of the particular invention and how it can be commercialized. So for any invention to go to the market, entrepreneur is required. So this is the job of an entrepreneur, to see the potential of the technology and take it and work for the commercialization of the aspect. So basically, if we can say, they are essential ingredients in building a successful commercial venture. So basically, innovation and entrepreneurship is introduction of novelty in a given market or industry. How we can do that, such as new product, services, different methods, sources of supply. It is clear that basically innovation and entrepreneurship are closely linked. Sometimes the terms are even used interchangeably, but as two distinct yet interrelated concepts, it will be basically very tricky at this point of time to understand what is the exact relationship. But anyways, 20th century economist Dr. Joseph, who said that necessity may be the mother of invention, because we always say that necessity is the mother of invention, but now there is a slight twist, that necessity may be the mother of invention, but it does not automatically produce innovation. Of course, because somebody should be there who can bring that innovation to the people, who can bring the product that is required. And basically, the third element is the entrepreneur, who is basically bringing invention to the market. So basically, what are the challenges are there? Because innovation may be sound word very quite fascinating, but what are the challenges? So we may have different challenges. First of all, biological challenges. There may be certain technological uncertainties and human control uncertainties. So if we talk about the biological challenges, what are the challenges? Like host response limitation, means limitation imposed by a targeted disease or population that create uncertainty, or currently basically some insurmountable barriers to the development of a new health technologies. So if COVID is a certain example, because if we talk about the COVID, so COVID is an opportunity for many, but it's a short-term opportunity. It is not going to be live forever. So whosoever are building a long-term plan, they may basically occur different losses, because the technology they're developing targeting only for COVID, they may not long last. So that is the biological barrier. Sometimes technical uncertainties or risk are there. So like technical uncertainties means challenges related to process and or attributes of health technologies in development, or inherent in existing problems that basically limit their production, sometimes feasibility. Whatever technology we are basically working on, how feasible it is. So these are the different challenges as a technology. Sometimes manufacturing is not that simple, not that easy. For product formulation, product analysis, stability, as well as bioavailability, or sometimes we are working on some specific projects. So half-life, like if you're working about enzymes, so half-life of the enzyme is a challenging process. So these are some technical uncertainties or risks that entrepreneur has to be take before bringing a product to the market. And sometimes human control risk are first of all, if we relate to, because when we go for a product, so a product, when we go to the market, so there are different regulatory, different government norms are there. So many times recommendation decisions that drive the different approvals, because when we are going, suppose we are developing a COVID related kit, so we have to go to the ICMR, the Indian Council of Medical Research, for their basically approvals. After that, we have certain drug standard regulatory body, CDCSO. We have to go to them for the manufacturing license before we basically finally commercialize the product. So different, you can say, human control risks are there, or uncertainties are there that may take more time, that may take some more manpower, more funding would be required. So these are the different barriers that are required. So if we talk about the funding in a low resource setting, because India country, you can say it's a low resource setting. So this is just a case study where if we're working on different diseases, like some certain outbreaks, if we talk about COVID, so COVID, cholera, so if we can go for the development, risk is huge, because we may not got required funding for that, for small outbreaks. If we talk about some staph or some different other bacterial outbreaks, so there may be some slight chance, because there are chances that these diseases are going to be forever. But of course, there may be some problem. This exit may not be that easy, because whosoever are funding us, they also see that what is the future of the technology. Means how relevant is the technology, what is the life of the technology. Means for how many years the technology is going to be relevant and how soon it can be obsolete. Because in the technological era, different, you can say, day to day, we are having different IoT based method, different technological advancement. So many technology, even method that we are developing in 2 years or 3 years, they are going to be obsolete. So how long the technology is going to be sustaining, it is also an important part to get the funding cases and as to building a strong business case. So basically, this is few aspects of when we are thinking about entrepreneurship. So what we should do? So entrepreneurship is a teamwork. Like we know, if we are, because everybody play cricket. So if we know that if we do not have our football, if we do not have a good team, or if any person is a kind of weak link in our team, so of course we won't be able to produce the expected results. So entrepreneurship is also a teamwork where, despite of different differences, when we are working for a single goal, the team should work with full motivation and determination to achieve that. So building a good team is the first step to become a successful entrepreneur, as well as to develop a successful product. So now what is the entrepreneurial process? So as I see that entrepreneurs are not doing anything different, but what they are doing the existing system they are exploring the existing scenario in a different way. So first of all, we need to identify what is the need with the problem we are working, what is the need of the problem, what is the solution, and what are the basically, they should know that in this particular scenario, opportunity is there. And then after going to the next step, after identify the problem, we should acquire the technology rights if we are not developing our own technology, or if we are developing our own technology, then we should acquire a good team. We should have the requisite funding. So basically, this is the resource and opportunity. So we should identify the right opportunity for us, and then we should work towards attaining the right resources who can take the work forward. Why am I unable to? It's getting actually stuck, I guess. I'm unable to move it forward. Okay. So this slide is showing that what is the basically technology. If we're talking about different kind of entrepreneurship is there, professional entrepreneurship and all. But here, as we are talking about the technology interventions, so what is the basically technology entrepreneurship? So after basically getting the fundings and all, so first of all, developing the product, we have to create a business also. Business model should be there. How we will take the things forward. And business administration means different management skill, because for entrepreneurship, lots of skill is required. Along with technical, one should have to know that how to manage the team, how to get the best out of the team who are working for you. So these are the different skills that is required for any technological entrepreneurship, after identifying the problem and attaining the right resources in terms of people, funding, and technology. So basically, as it is rightly said, the technology entrepreneurship, not only what we are doing, that is important aspect, but also when, because Sometimes what happened to launch the product in a right time, right place is also a very important aspect of any product development. So we should keep our eyes open that how we can basically create a successful business as well as how we can launch the product at the right time. So this is the basically technology value means when we are into the product development cycle, so what are the important aspects that we'll have to take care? So first of all, the concept we are working. So it should be feasible, means the prototype can be developed, should be developed very easily without any much technological hurdles. So you can say a thorough homework is required to develop the concept up to a successful prototype. So when we have developed the prototype, then patent application means to secure whatever the innovation we have done, to secure it for ourselves. One shouldn't copy the exact technology that we are working. So patent application we have to file. Working prototype we should have. Then after working prototype, after getting the required approval, we should go for the manufacturing, different market, you can say approvals, as well as the end goal is to market introduction, means we are launching the product to the market. So this is the complete cycle of the product. And after market introduction, also we have to take care that what is the market response, how our product is behaving in real scenario, because many times when we are doing the studies in control scenario, the aspect is different. But as soon as we go to the real scenario, the concept and basically the performance of the product, we can't control. So these, after market introduction also, we have to keep keen eye on that, how the product is performing, what is the market response. So this is just some tips that how we can create a successful business model. So first of all, we should follow our passion, because when we are doing anything, you can the full passion. So whatever the ups and downs we receive in our basically during our journey, it helps us to survive, it helps us to sustain it. Our passion provides us the strength to survive, to carry on. That's the important aspect. Other thing is focus on local but keep eye on global market. Means initially, whenever suppose we are working on India, we are working on some problem that is quite relevant for Indian scenario, but we should know that what is the potential in global market also, because that would help us to grow as entrepreneurs. First of all, the other aspect, whatever the work we are doing, whatever the problem we are solving, whether our customer required that or not, means we have to target. Suppose we are developing diagnostic kits, so I should know that whatever the diagnostic kits we are making, doctors should require that. It shouldn't make it that there is no need. So how I will sell my product? So first of all, we should know the customer and market also, because ultimately we have to launch the product into the market. So if there is no need of the market and market doesn't require our product, then ultimately our product would be failed. So all these things before starting, we should understand everything. Who are our end customers, whom we are targeting, who are our potential buyers for the technology, and how market will respond. What is the market infiltration challenges? So we have to plan the strategies. Like suppose we are working on a niche product, like whatever the cancer product we are working, currently there is no such device available. So we know that we may face certain challenges in market infiltration. So we are planning that we can have certain kind of joint venture with established market player that will provide us better reach, better distribution network. So that is one strategy. And other thing is to focus on 1 year get right, means whatever because if first year of market launch, everything is going well, we are getting best response, then we are done. Once the credibility is created, everything is okay. And keep exit strategies ready even when you start. Exit strategy is also very important, means we should be passionate about the product, but we should have any kind of more affection. If a product is not going well, we should know that where to stop. Instead of basically working on same strategy again and again, we should stop and we can think about other aspects where product can be working. So this is the few basically tips for generating a smart business model. So this is all from my side, and I would like to end with this quote, that entrepreneurs are those who understand there is little difference between obstacle and opportunity and are able to turn both to their advantage. Means we should know that how we can create the opportunity, and we should basically convert them or even if obstacle is there, so we should convert them for an opportunity for us. So this is the difference between an entrepreneur and a normal person, the vision. So entrepreneur is a visionary who understands that what is the future of the technology and whatever the work we are doing, how it will serve the purpose. So this is basically, I would like to end here. And as all of us has seen the movie, that 3 Idiots, so there was one famous dialogue that beta kabil bano, kamyabi to jhak maar ke piche aayegi. So this is the, you can say, essence. Whatever work we are doing, whatever you can say whatever technology we are learning, we should learn it thoroughly so that we can implement it. And we should work hard to gain the knowledge and to achieve our dreams. That's all from my side. Thank you very much.
Any questions, students?
What happened?
No questions? Okay, so I think they don't have question.
Yeah, actually, the talk was not on some, you can say, some giving a routine kind of lecture on technology. So I thought it would better if I can share that what is the areas that can be that student can work, because these are young people, they can work on different technologies that are relevant for them.
Right, right.
And if currently there is no question, I have given my phone number as well as my email ID. So you
Right.
can always connect with me for the detailed discussion about if you want to work on different niche areas.
Mhm. So, student, please note down this email ID, and further, if you have any questions or any project you want to discuss with, you can